fans of a Horus heresy, demonic anti-heroes, and wings, thank you very much for joining me for another video where I'm going to have some, news about the news. That's right, it's another meta-news episode. In other words, a new article has been published on the Warhammer community website. It's the Legion Dispatch, the third Legion Dispatch, and this one is really interesting. And it's really interesting because it's about something I really like in the Heresy and an army that I collect. And as you can see, it is none other than a preview of a new upcoming miniature of Argel Tal of the Word Bearer's Serrated Sun chapter. So, the Crimson Lord of the Gal Vorbak, formerly the captain of the 7th Assault Company of the Serrated Sun chapter. And I thought I'd have a quick video just talking about this, what I think is a very striking and impressive miniature that has been previewed. And it's always good to see some heresy news. So this is a third Legion Dispatch article, and may there be many more with many new miniatures. So what does this article say? Well, essentially, it's just a bit of fluff around saying, look at this fantastic new Argel Tal miniature that is going to be coming along. We don't really get an indication as to when it is going to be available to order. It just says soon, which is essentially the same as was said on the previous Malaghurst and Imperial Fist Praetor articles. So we don't know when soon is, but let's just talk about the model because I think this is absolutely fantastic. I've got quite a chunky Serrated Sun Wordbearer chapter force now, and this is a must buy for me. I'm kind of defying my normal approach there of leading with a conclusion, which I don't normally do. So yes, I'm leaking through enthusiasm there. Anyway, let's do a Leakycheese rewind and start at the beginning. So this is, I'm guessing it's going to be on a 40mm base, like the standard Gal Vorbak, so it's a Terminator base. As you can see from the miniature, it's a big miniature, and it absolutely fills this base. And that's without the wings. And with the wings, it really is a big thing. Arguably, you could put it on a 60mm base. It would still look okay, I argue. So really impressive. Here we can see Argel Tal in his hybrid demonic Astartes Gal Vorbak form, and of course we know that he is possessed of the demon realm. And slow down, cheese. There will be some mild spoilers in this video for both the First Heretic and Betrayer, both novels from the Black Library, written by Aaron Dembski-Bowden. There are some mild spoilers in here. Yes, here we can see him in his demonically transfigured, merged Astartes form. And yeah, it certainly is a sanity-defying meld of flesh, armor, bone, and other spiky bits. And I just want to kind of touch on some of the thematic influence and style points that the sculptors have created in this miniature because it tells a lot about what's going on. So first thing here, think about the Gal Vorbak miniatures that came before, and that's obviously a squad of 5 miniatures, one of the best heresy sets of miniatures I think has ever been done. And we can see that this form of Argel Tal has the digitigrade legs that were featured to degrees in those 5 miniatures. And you'll remember, or those of you that have seen them or own them, you'll know that some models they don't have any digitigrade legs, others have one, and one has both. So it's nice here to see this rendition of Argel Tal with both of those legs. So it's clearly highly demonic in aspect here. Obviously, he has a pair of wings, and this alludes to him as he was appearing at the time of the novel Betrayer, more than perhaps as was alluded to in the First Heretic, although I certainly wouldn't say you can't use this miniature if you're wanting to pick Argel Tal from the Battle of Isfahan 5. But I think certainly the kind of primary focus here is depicting him later at the time of the Shadow Crusade, and as has been painted here, we can see that he's holding a dismembered Astartes, and clearly it's an Ultramarine, and an Ultramarine who has had a bad day, and more than anything, that clearly says this is from a Shadow Crusade and events of the book Betrayer. Just looking at other features here, you'll notice that both of his hands are large, distended, grotesque, fleshy, talony claw constructs, and this is alluding to Argel Tal's choice of weapons in the second half of the book, The First Heretic, where he loses his swords of red iron and adopts a pair of lightning claws in their place. And here this is clearly alluding to those lightning claws have merged and taken demonic form in his transfigured state. So yes, a nice little nod there in terms of armament. One thing we don't see here is he's not carrying any of the custodian weapons that he obtained from any of the custodians of Aquilon's command at the climax of that novel. So I'm not sure if this kit might come with an alternate arm, because there's an obvious possibility here to replace the dismembered ultramarine, or dismembered Astartes, it doesn't have to be an ultramarine, with one of those custodian blades. But assuming the kit is just as presented here, then it's going to be certainly an interesting converting opportunity to give him one of those weapons. And I suppose that then leads me into another observation about the model, well, not so much the model, but the game. Are we going to get some rules for Argel Tal in this form, so as a character? Because at the moment, the nearest you can really get to Argel Tal in terms of Age of Darkness gaming is using him as a Dark Martyr in a sort of 5 Gal Vorbak. So I'm hoping we'll see some specific character rules to him. Another thought that I had in terms of bullying him, as well as converting off that ultramarine and giving him a custodian weapon, the wings could be removed and give him more of a standard backpack, perhaps taken from one of the other Gal Vorbak or even Blade Slave miniatures, to make him look more like he may have done at the Battle of Isfahan 5. So that was another thought that I had around this. But in terms of like the general styling, it feels very much in line with the preceding Gal Vorbak miniatures. Bone spike protruding from his forehead, the strange mutation of his helmet. But, you know, you can clearly still see that underneath, well, there was once a suit of armor here, or there still is, that's just been merged and warped by the presence of the demon, or the manifestation of a demon's form. So I do really like the look of that, and the cracking and rupturing of its armor are some nice styles of details that have been certainly touched on in previous Gal Vorbak, but are here manifested in more vivid form than on previous iterations of this sort of model. On his chest, he's got a large serrated sun symbol, the chapter badge of the unit he belonged to, and overall he's just in this very imposing pose where he's both holding this ruined enemy Astartes and pointing with great malevolence at perhaps his next victim, or even directing his non-demonic kin on the battlefield, because of course he did fight alongside word-bearers and world-eaters who were not possessed by creatures of the warp. I do really like pose. It just suits the kind of horrific subject matter well, and it has that sort of latent malevolence that, in my mind at least, you would visualize for a demon or a demon Astartes hybrid to have. And another little thing, you can almost imagine this helmet. You can almost picture how it was once a Mark IV Space Marine helmet, but it's become twisted by the union of demon flesh and armor. Great stuff. Yeah, so top marks for this one, Forge World. Don't know when it's going to be due out. Hopefully sooner rather than later. We've not seen any of these models yet, despite, we've been, it's been 2.5, 3 months since the first one we had. We'll have to see when they're going to come along. But again, it says soon, so I guess we just need to keep watching. But yeah, a great model. Really impressive piece, and it is one that I will certainly be acquiring. I already own examples of all Gal Vorbak miniatures. I have Zardu Leak and his Blade Slaves. I also have a Mara Gal Tainted Dreadnought, and this latest possessee is a perfect addition to that collection. So there you have it, the upcoming Argel Tal miniature from Forge World. I really like it. As always, I would like to hear what your thoughts and opinions are on this particular model in the comments section. Please do share those, as always, I'll be interested to hear. But other than that, I'd just like to say thank you very much for watching. I'll speak to you next time, and goodbye.